I'm Steve, and you're back watching the Pokepointers channel. Last week, Evolving Skies released with a ton of hype, and we took a look in our last video at the top 10 cards, their prices, and where I thought they would be in a week. So what I want to do in this video is compare the prices of the cards today to what I thought they were going to be about a week ago, see how far I was off, and predict what I think they're going to be in a month, in 6 months, and even in the long term. So let's get started. So to remind everybody how I did my analysis, I took all the previous Pokemon Sword and Shield sets and ran an analysis and found that for every single card that was released, it would drop approximately 14% in the first week, about 29% in the first month, 30% in the third month, and in the long term, almost 50%. I used that math and I applied it to each of these top 10 cards, and I made a bold prediction on where I would see these cards drop in 7 days. What's really interesting about this video is that there were actually a couple cards that went up in value, which is not usually the norm for what we see in the first week of a Pokemon set. So the first card on this top 10 list is the Glaceon V, which first released at $84.75. Using the analysis, I predicted that this card would hit 14% lower in the first week. Now it turns out this card actually ended up even further than that, dropping 26% to $54. If I use that as a new number and extrapolate that, I think that in the long term, this card would be pretty stable around $32. Number 9 on the list is the Espeon V alternate art. This is a new card to this list because it was actually in my honorable mentions last week. It wasn't worth that much at $70.30. I predicted that it would go right at $60, but it turns out it did a little bit better than that. Espeon has been doing pretty well in the first week, and there's been a lot of interest around it, and we've seen that card only fall about 13%, or about 1% higher than what I predicted. In the long term, I do see this card hitting about $37. Number 8 on the list is the Dragonite V alternate art card. This was previously the 10th card, so it's actually moved up a couple slots. This card first came out priced at $76. I predicted it to be $65, and lo and behold, I wasn't too far off. The card is now priced at $68 today, or about a 10% difference from its week 1 price. In the long term, I do see this card dropping to about $40, which I do think is a pretty good deal, considering this is also my chase card. Number 7 on the list is also my second favorite card in this top 10. It's the Umbreon V alternate art. This card came out pretty strong out the gate at $105. I predicted it to be $90.61, but it's fallen pretty significantly since then, down to $79.46. My guess here is that there's a lot of people pulling the V alternate art cards, and they're pretty common when you open up a booster box, so I think there's just a lot of these Umbreon Vs on the market. Long-term price, I think this is going to be a $47 card. Number 5 on the list is the Glaceon VMAX alternate art. It's a beautiful card. It was actually ranked number 7 on our list previously, so it's jumped up a couple spots. Started off at $99. I predicted it to be $86, and it's fallen even further to $80. The long-term price, I see it holding right around the same as the Umbreon V alternate art at $48. But in my opinion, I'm not too impressed with the performance of this card. I think there's going to be a lot of the evolutions that are on the market that will fall down even further than what I predicted in the long term. Leafeon, Glaceon, and Espeon are probably the evolutions in this category. And speaking of which, the next card on the list is the leafeon VMAX alternate art. Started off at $103. I predicted it to be at $88, and where did it fall? Down to $82, or about 20% drop from its original release price. I think it's going to be falling further. It's going to drop to about $68 in the first month, about $66 in the third month, and in the long term, will hit right under $50. Number 4 on the list is the Sylveon VMAX alternate art. This was in our top 3 and has fallen down one place. It started off at $137, and I predicted it to be about $118. Turns out it fell even further, closer to about $100 now, or about 27% from its original release price. In the long term, it's going to be performing very similarly to the Espeon, to the Leafeon, to the Glaceon, in my opinion, where the long-term price, I see it sticking right at $60. Cracking our top 3 is finally the Rayquaza V alternate art card. This was originally a top 3 card during the Evolving Skies pre-release, but then we did see the Sylveon come pretty strong in the first 7 days. But this card started off at $94. I predicted it to be about $82. And what's funny enough here is this is one of the few cards that has gone up significantly in a week where we see these prices for this card going up to $111, or about 17% higher than release. In the long term though, I still think this card is going to level off, as even though people are playing it in the TCG, it's going to be found more and more in booster boxes, and I think that steady state price is going to hit $66. All right, the top two. Umbreon VMAX alternate art, one of our favorite cards on this list. It's a super popular card. Started off right at $250, and I saw this going down to about $215 in the first 7 days. Turns out I was pretty close, where this card was hovering right at $217, so I would say the prediction held pretty well there, and I think that in the long term, this card will still stay above $100 to $130, so performing very similarly to the Tyranitar V alternate art from Battle Styles. And finally, the card that everybody has been talking about, it's the hype chase card of the set. It's the Rayquaza VMAX alternate art. When it was first pre-released, it was over $550, and upon release last week, came out to about $350. I predicted it to be $305, and with a week 1 check, this is pretty interesting here. It's fallen even further to $250, so I was off by about 18%. This card has fallen about 29% since release, and based on these new numbers, this card might be a $150 card. Based on the rarity of Evolving Skies and with this Rayquaza VMAX, this could be a good deal if you haven't picked it up already. So those were my top 10 for the first week. I'm going to be revisiting this in a month to see how my predictions are holding up. What do you think? Do you think these cards are going to fall even further? Is there any opportunity for some of these cards to actually rise in price, like the Rayquaza V Alter? Let me know in the comments. And if you haven't already, if you like this video, please hit like, subscribe to the channel, and ring the notification bell. This really helps the algorithm. I'm Steve, you've been watching Pokepointers, and I'll see you all next time. Thanks a lot.